Turn our attention now to prep football around here. We are already past week number 5. Can you believe it? And the season goes by so fast. Man. Over half of it is in the books as we bring in Eric Rogers now to go back and forth and talk some prep football around here, especially some of the bigger games that we've had. We've had them on the air here at 57 Sports, but also, just to cover everything and where the conferences are right now as everybody's trying to gear up towards the playoffs. And we start with a team that basically clinched their playoff berth. We start in the Big 8, Sun Prairie's in.
Yeah, an undefeated Sun Prairie team, so 5-0, 3-0 in the conference, coming off a 41-6 win over Beloit Memorial. So doing big things on the ground. Draven Peoples, 3 carries, 97 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's a good average.
So, yeah, they all said 4 defensive interceptions, obviously. So doing it all phases of the game, and that'll get you the win.
Yeah, Sun Prairie's been very, very good. Right behind them, there was a logjam. 4 teams that were tied for second place in the Big 8 Conference. They all played each other this past week. Middleton coming up big in the second half.
Yeah, you had Middleton and Madison West both getting wins this week, so they remain 1 game back in the conference standings. So you're looking at West beating La Follette 14-7. Middleton beating Verona 31-10, which is, again, you talk about big games and a lot on the line at this point in the season, and now we're gearing up for it's crunch time.
Yeah, James Paps going off in that one, 3 rushing touchdowns in the second half for Middleton. So rounding out the conference a little bit, nice to see the Spartans get back-to-back wins, isn't it? As Coach Smith has them back on the winning track.
Yeah, you start off the season 0-3, and then you go and get 2 wins in a row, and you start to feel good about what you have, and maybe things come together, and you start thinking, things, at least I know what I'm doing is working, and what we have as a team. You go 0-5, you start falling apart.
Yeah, and they would have. Craig, by the way, also a winner in the Battle of Janesville. They ended up beating Parker down in Monterey Stadium. All right, let's turn our attention to the Badger North Conference, and we start up at the top of that conference as well. Highly ranked for a reason. The Wanakee Warriors keep on trucking.
Yeah, you could change the year, the date on this segment, and it would be almost the same thing we're talking about. An undefeated team, Wanakee being the top of the conference, 5-0, defeating Portage, as you brought up. We talked about this, the intro and the headlines. 64-7, using an advantage in rushing, 201 yards to 51.
Yeah, a lot of that. Javian Dane, 133 yards. He's incredible. If you have not seen Javian Dane run the football, it's reminiscent of his dad when the Dane train was in Madison. Yeah, it's really cool to see. Also, top of the conference there, at least a game back now, Mount Horeb Barneveld. They keep on rolling.
Yeah, 4-1, 2-1 in the conference. They remain second in that race, defeating Baraboo 45-0 after 3 interceptions and holding the quarterback of the other team to a 4.8 rating. So not the best day for the opposition.
Not at all. And a team we saw week 1, DeForest, they lost to Oregon week 1. They've been bouncing back in a big way.
Yeah, beating Sauk Prairie 53-16. Beaver Dam beats Reedsburg 30-20. So, things are really starting to shape up now as we get towards the season. You start seeing, as it were, the cream rising to the crop, if you want to use that term. So.
Yeah, and we're also seeing that in the Badger South Conference. Now, the Badger South, we were there in Stoughton a couple of weeks ago, a rising program. If you look a few years back, they weren't very good. They are pretty darn good right now, and they showed it off against Monroe. That's a tough place to play. If you've ever been down to a game where the Cheesemakers play, the blankets are out early, everybody's got their designated spot in the bleachers. Yeah. It's a tough place to go and win, but they did it in style.
Yeah, Coach Dan Prawl over there at Stoughton, a good friend of mine, we both went to the Oregon school system, so it's nice to see him and the program have success like he has with his dad, former coach over at Oregon. So that lineage working its way into the record books, or at least in the standings right now. With that 5-0 record.
Yeah, Vikings 5-0 overall, 3-0 in conference. Another team with the exact same mark is Monona Grove. The Silver Eagles are back in a big way this season and led by their quarterback, Alec Ogden.
Yeah, and like we talked about with Wanakee, a lot of times you're talking about Monona Grove and conference titles coming into the season, and tied atop the conference, as we mentioned, and Fort Atkinson loses that game 46-7. So a big game, like you mentioned. Alec Ogden, 16 of 20, 262 yards and 2 tutties, so a big game for him. Also, Jackson Thompson, 10 carries, 105 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, very cool, and some lineage there too for those of you that used to watch Badger football way back in the day, and the Packers before they actually got good again behind Brett Favre. Randy Wright was a bridge quarterback there for a while. Randy Wright actually has helped run camps that Alec Ogden has gone to, and so he has gotten better off of that for those of you that remember one Randy Wright. So the rest of the Badger South Conference, Oregon, a big win against Milton, so Milton kind of having a down year, and then a barn burner of a game, Watertown and Edgewood.
Yeah, you talked about this in your headlines about the field goal to win the game late, and you're looking at a 31-29 game. You don't normally see a lot of games end that way in high school football, but an Edgewood team that struggled to an 0-5 record now, and Watertown first year in the conference, and you hate to say, you're looking past opponents, but if you're looking at a winless Edgewood team, you got to go, man, we got to get a win here, and then to really scrape it out at the end was big.
Yeah, big game there indeed. We got to call the Evansville-Albany-Edgerton game. That game is on this week, so go ahead and check your listings for that. Next week, East versus West, we'll have that one for you.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, good talking prep football with you. We got more coming up next.